He was my son, not a tool, not a soldier, not a pawn moved across a war-torn board, a soul, touched by fire, a fragment of my own boundless ambition, given flesh and will. From the forges of lost sciences and the fires of my unrelenting purpose, he was crafted. The Primarchs, my greatest work, were stolen from me before they could take their first steps, torn from their birthing pods by the treacherous hands of the warp, scattered across the void, lost to worlds that neither knew nor deserved them. Yet among all those broken lines cast into the abyss, Horus was the first to return, the first to look upon me with recognition, the first to call me Father. In that moment, something ancient stirred within me, something more profound than any conquest, a bond not of domination, but of shared destiny. Horus was different. Even among the Primarchs, who each bore some reflection of my might, he shone with a brilliance that defied description. His mind was sharp, keen enough to see not only what was, but what could be. His spirit burned, bright enough to inspire loyalty not through command, but through love. In those first years, we walked the stars together. When we brought the burning plains of Dagon's reach to heel, it was Horus who carried my banner into the enemy's heart. When we shattered the Seraphine Confederacy, it was Horus who took the surrender, not with threats, but with a promise of unity. We spoke often in those days. Long hours spent not in strategy or logistics, but in dreams. Dreams of a galaxy free from the tyranny of ignorance. Dreams of a humanity unshackled from the petty squabbles of its past. Dreams we both believed could be made real. I taught him all that I could, the philosophy of leadership, the delicate balance between mercy and ruthlessness, the burden of command, not as a right, but as a sacred duty. And he listened, not with the hollow obedience of a servant, but with the fierce devotion of a son. His victories were many: the shattered bastions of the Gaian hegemony, the liberation of the Valen cluster, where Horus wept openly for the broken children abandoned by their would-be masters. He became a beacon to the Legiones Astartes. To fight beside Horus was to feel invincible. To follow his voice into battle was to believe utterly that victory was inevitable. His brothers admired him. Some envied him, but none could deny his greatness. When the time came to name a Warmaster, one who would bear my authority across the stars, there was no hesitation. None were more suited, none more worthy. I remember the day with a clarity sharper than any blade, the throne of Byzantium, draped in the standards of conquered worlds, bathed in the light of 100 suns. My sons assembled, their armor gleaming, their eyes heavy with the weight of history, and Horus, standing alone before me, proud but not arrogant, strong but not unyielding. I spoke the words. I named him Warmaster, and the galaxy itself seemed to tremble with the promise of what we would achieve. He knelt, not as a conqueror seeking favor, but as a son accepting the burden I placed upon him. And when he rose, it was as if the light of terror itself crowned him. In the campaigns that followed, Horus proved beyond doubt that my trust had not been misplaced. On the scorched fields of Corvain's Wound, where the enemy held strong for 10 generations, it was Horus who shattered their lines in a single night. On the gleaming cities of Hyades Prime, it was Horus who brought the rebel lords to kneel, not through fire and death, but through the power of his vision. He was my will, my voice, my fury unleashed. He was the embodiment of the dream that had carried me through the darkness of humanity's fall. I trusted him as I had trusted no other. Not because I was blind, not because I was weak, but because in Horus I saw the best of what humanity could be. The fire of ambition tempered by the steel of purpose. The compassion of a father's heart bound to the unbreakable will of a warrior. I entrusted him with the Imperium. I entrusted him with the legacy of old Earth. And more than that, I entrusted him with my dreams. In Horus, I believed I had found the one who could succeed where even I might falter. The one who would carry humanity not merely into survival, but into glory. And in that trust, in that love, in that boundless faith, I sowed the seeds of ruin. I trusted Horus with everything I had, my armies, my vision, my faith. And for a time, he bore that burden with grace and honor. But greatness is a heavy crown to wear, even for one forged by my own hand. The cracks were small at first, a hesitation in council, a flash of pride where there once had only been certainty. I told myself they were nothing, that no soul could bear such weight without faltering now and then. But pride is a patient poison, and there were those who whispered to him in the dark, ancient enemies of mankind, forces I had battled since the first dawn of intelligence, subtle, insidious, timeless. They found in Horus a chink, a single moment of doubt, and they drove their blade deep. I was blind to it. In my arrogance, I believed Horus unassailable. I believed that love alone would guard his heart against the corruption of the warp. I was wrong. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, he changed. Not all at once. A word spoken in anger instead of wisdom. A victory claimed in his name, not ours. He began to see betrayal where there was none. He began to believe that I had cast him aside, that I had abandoned him for other sons, other dreams. And when the moment came, when the offer was made by powers older than time, Horus accepted. Not out of hatred, not out of cruelty, but out of the twisted belief that he was saving mankind, saving it from me. The heresy was not born in rage. It was born in love, perverted into something monstrous. Horus raised his banners against me. Sons fought sons, brothers burned brothers. The galaxy I had sought to unify became a charnel house of betrayal, and at the heart of it all, the brightest star fallen into darkness. I watched worlds burn that had once sung hymns to our coming. I watched loyal heroes butchered in the name of lies and madness, and yet, even then, I could not bring myself to hate him. On the final day, atop the shattered ruins of the Imperial Palace, we met at last. The skies above Terra were black with ash and sorrow. The blood of trillions soaked the soil, and there he stood, my son, cloaked in the armor of gods, eyes burning with a terrible, twisted certainty. We fought, blade against blade, will against will. And even as we clashed, I searched his eyes. I searched for the boy who had once wept with joy at the liberation of a single broken world. I searched for the son who had called me father with such fierce pride. For a heartbeat, a single fragile instant, I saw him. Beneath the armor, beneath the corruption, Horus, my son. And in that instant, I forgave him, fully, completely. But forgiveness is not always salvation, and love cannot always mend what has been broken. He struck the first true blow, wounding me in ways no blade had ever done, not merely in flesh, but in spirit. And so I answered, not with rage, not with vengeance, but with sorrow. I ended him, not as a warrior vanquishing an enemy, but as a father laying to rest a beloved child lost beyond recall. His final breath was not a curse, it was a whisper, my name. and then he was gone. With Horus died the future we had dreamed of. With Horus died the hope of a galaxy united in light. I sit now upon this throne of silence and sorrow, not in triumph, not in victory, but in penance. Every day I feel the echoes of that final battle. Every night I remember the weight of his body falling from my grasp. I do not sleep. I do not dream. I do not forgive myself. If you hear these words, know this. Even the Emperor of mankind can bleed. Even the Emperor of mankind can mourn. Even the Emperor of mankind can be broken. And among all the wounds I carry, among all the betrayals I have endured, there is one scar that shall never heal. His name was Horus, my son, the betrayer, my greatest failure, my eternal sorrow.